So this week, I have you starting out with the first part of the drafting. And I just want you to kind of get a little familiar with um, the way the captions work, the jurisdictional statements, things like that. And so your assignment this week is very small. Hopefully, it'll be easy enough, but we're going to build from these and we're going to start filling in all of the facts and stuff like that as we go through over the next couple of weeks. But anyhow, we're going to. Talk about what these look like. I'm going to show you some examples, and we're going to talk about how to determine like the appropriate jurisdiction and all that stuff. So it doesn't matter whether you're, preparing a complaint or answering a motion or anything like that. You have to be able to understand these types of things. And I've said kind of from the beginning that jurisdiction is one of the most important things because if the court doesn't have jurisdiction, it doesn't get heard. So a lawsuit caption is essentially the heading at the top of the legal document. It's going to identify the court, the parties, the case, things like that. So, and when I say that, I mean that it's going to give you like the name of the court where the case is filed. It's going to tell you which county that the case is being heard in. It's going to tell you the names of the plaintiffs and the defendants, or the petitioner and the respondent if you're using that version. And then it's also going to give you the case number if it has been assigned one. Now, in Georgia courts, the captions do have to adhere to these very specific formatting styles. So let's look at an example. This right here is an example, okay? You don't have to have the three lines at the top the way that I do. This is just a style choice, really, for me. But you can have like, in the Cobb County Superior Court, state of Georgia, whatever. But I have it broken down just because it makes it easier when I'm going through and using it as a template to just slide it right in. I don't know, it stands out more to me, but each element here is going to play a very crucial role to make sure that this has been processed or it's been properly identified and gets processed by the right court. So we want to again make sure you kind of stick to what's going on here. I always capitalize the names of the plaintiff and the defendant, but I don't capitalize anything else on the left side. I just make it so that their particular names happen to stand out. Again, for me, that's a style choice. I know some people who choose not to do it that way. I don't like it. That's just me. Again, up to you. Now, when it comes to formatting, there's a lot of errors that do tend to happen, though. So let's talk about some of those really quickly. You can have an incorrect court name. So you might have something where it's like Georgia State Court. No, Georgia State Court doesn't exist. Okay. It is like the State Court of Fulton County. That exists, but not the Georgia State Court. You might have it to where the defendant's name has been placed on top, and we don't do that either. If a case number has been assigned, you might sometimes forget it. But these are things that you're supposed to do to kind of, just pay attention to these details because you want to make sure, again, that the documents are processed correctly, efficiently, and we don't want anything kicked back to us. Now, document titles are going to include, I don't know. They're going to tell you what's before the court, and there's not necessarily a set like title because sometimes you have to get a little bit creative, right? But for example, a complaint for damages or a complaint for whatever, that's going to be something that initiates a lawsuit. It's going to explain very briefly what the basis of the claim is. A motion to dismiss is something that would be asking the court to dismiss a case for some sort of legal reason or some sort of like procedural reason. You have an answer to a complaint, and that's the defendant's, of course, their response to the complaint. And then you have something, you have the, like the motion for summary judgment. In this case, it's the plaintiff's motion for summary judgment. And it's asking the court to rule in favor of the plaintiff without actually having to take it to trial. All right, so our John and Jane Doe, they're getting divorced. So it says complaint for divorce. Now, if it's an uncontested matter, it usually says like, divorce or petition for divorce without minor, children. It might say uncontested. Just all those kinds of things do kind of, get used. But the goal here when making a document title, we don't want to use any kind of vague or like informal language. We don't want to have like a request for a case dismissal. We want a motion to dismiss. We're going strong. You have to capitalize and bold the title for clarity. I add an underline too. Again, style choice, but that's just me. Don't use any kind of like outdated or incorrect terminology when it comes to court filings and whatnot. You want to just always make sure that your document title is reflecting what it is that you're putting before the court, whether it's a motion or request, whatever it is that you are filing, it has to reflect it. So next we have our opening, which says, comes now Jane Doe, the plaintiff, in the above styled action by and through her attorney, Alice Nelson, and files this her complaint for divorce and shows this honorable court as follows. So some things that I want to point out here. The comes now, it is, that's just capitalize that. You have the, it has the by and through her attorney and the attorney's name. This is not always necessary either. But again, you're going to have some attorneys that want it there and some that just don't care. Then you have the complaint for divorce in italics. I do that because I want for any type when you're kind of going through, reading, you want the type of, ease that comes with kind of seeing something that is not the same as everything else. And it just kind of makes, in my opinion, the skimming part a breeze. But the one thing that I want to point out is that you always capitalize the name of the court or the word court when you are talking about a court. So if you say like Gwinnett County Court, you capitalize that. If you are saying anything to the court that you are filing with, you always capitalize that court. And in my opinion, you always add honorable court too at the very beginning. You don't have to do it again later on, but in my opinion, this is one of the things that you should be adding. Now for this one, do not stop to read. And that's because I'm just kind of showing you aesthetically two different styles. And you have one that looks like this right here where the numbers are on the left. And then you have this one. And this is where it has the numbers, kind of set off by themselves in the middle. Whichever style you pick is really up to you. I just wanted to kind of show you what they look like. But we're going to circle back to them in just a minute. But let's talk really quickly about jurisdiction. Again, I can't harp on this one enough because it's so important. It is literally what, the courts, it's their legal authority to hear a case. And in Georgia, jurisdiction is based on the personal jurisdiction, which is the court's authority over the defendant. You have the subject matter jurisdiction, which is the court, like whether the court has the authority over the type of case that's being filed. And then you have the venue, which is the specific county or the district where the court or where the case is actually being heard. Georgia courts will have personal jurisdiction over a defendant if they live in the state, if they conduct business in the state, and if they've done something wrong in Georgia. For example, under OCGA, I think it's 9-10-91, this is the long arm statute, I believe, where the Georgia courts can, bring somebody into court. They can exercise the jurisdiction over the non-residents if they are doing business here or if they have committed some sort of a tortious act here. The subject matter jurisdiction, again, this is which court can actually hear a case based on like the legal issues. So like superior courts have the jurisdiction to handle felonies and divorce cases and civil cases that basically involve I would say probably about $25,000 and over. Your state courts can handle your civil claims, your misdemeanors, traffic offenses, things like that. Your federal court is going to handle your small claims under 15,000. And then your federal courts in Georgia are going to still have to involve either a federal question, which is either something that happens under federal law, or constitutional matter, something about rules or regulations under the administrative departments, or it has to be diversity jurisdiction, which again is where no defendant or plaintiff live in the same state, and the amount that is before the court is above $75,000. Now, so understand. Let me back up. So understanding the proper jurisdiction is going to make sure that the case gets filed in the correct court. It's going to prevent any kind of unnecessary delays, and we also don't want to end up messing up, to where we end up maybe missing like the statute of limitations. And that can happen if there is an error in jurisdiction. So when it comes to your jurisdictional statement, please make sure that you proof it, okay? Because mistakes can lead to an immediate dismissal. Some common errors are going to be, again, filing it in the wrong court, like filing it in state court, and it's a contract dispute in federal court. Or I'm sorry, sorry, it's about a state law, but you're, for the contract dispute, but you're filing it in federal court. If you file something in federal court and you assume that jurisdiction exists when it doesn't, if you fail to cite any kind of relevant Georgia statutes that, establish jurisdiction, courts know these things, but they're not going to do your job for you. So you have to make sure that you put all these in, and double checking it again. It can save time, it can prevent delays, and it can strengthen your arguments, your legal arguments, that is. Now, going back to the example that I gave you first, it says, number one, plaintiff is a resident of Cobb County, Georgia, and has been a resident of Georgia for at least 6 months prior to the filing of this action. So cool. We have jurisdiction over the plaintiff, but do we have it over the defendant? Defendant is a resident of Cobb County, Georgia, and is expected to acknowledge service and waive further service of process. In the event that he does not, defendant may be served at 123 Main Street, Marietta, Georgia, 30060. Okay, so we know that it's Cobb County, but there is no jurisdictional statement. We have to still put something in there that says that this is proper. So let me go to the other one. Now, we have this same exact wording on the first one, but the second one says, defendant is a resident of Cobb County, Georgia, and is subject to the personal jurisdiction of this court. So we have jurisdiction, right? Therefore, jurisdiction and venue for the above styled action are proper in the Superior Court of Bartow County. Well, there's a problem here. And that is the second time it's referenced is this is wrong. It would have been Cobb County at the top. This is why I say it's the second one, because the caption at the top would have said it. But make sure, this is what I'm talking about with just making sure that you kind of go over it and look at it and make sure that you have everything like checked and double checked and everything else. So again, the assignment is to just read the hypotheticals. I think there's like 4 or 5 of them, and just make sure that you put in the proper court, the proper county, everything that's supposed to be filled in. It's got like fill in boxes, and that way you can just slap it in there. Some of them have drop downs, and you can pick, kind of what goes there. And I don't know. We'll see if we need to work on this a little bit more. But I'm hoping by this point that we don't need to, and I've kind of, drilled that enough. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I will definitely be glad to help you. Bye.